Welcome back to another episode of the Katrina Johnson Show. So happy to have you with me today. Remember to subscribe, share the podcast, leave comments. I would love to hear from you guys. Also, you can follow me online at katrinajohnson.online or on Instagram at I am Katrina Johnson. I thank you again for joining me, and let's get into the show. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Katrina Johnson Show. As usual, I am so grateful to have you here with me as we continue to discuss the topic of fixed mindset versus growth mindset. I am so into the mindset because I know personally how having a growth mindset can really propel us in going in an upward position. It's just all the way up, being positive and taking life on with more of a opportunity to grow rather than a fixed mindset that just says, you know what, it is what it is. So I am just loving this topic, and it's really what I'm going to base my inspiration to everyone on moving forward. It's necessary that in order to live our best life, in order to stay inspired, be motivated, live our best life, basically you have to have the right mindset, right? So I am going to share my story today with you about how back in the day I had a fixed mindset. And let me just give you an example of what a fixed mindset would say. I'm too shy to do this or that. That was me, guys. That was me. I'm sure those words came out of my mouth many times, and if I didn't always verbalize it, I definitely thought it. And you know, your thoughts become things, right? If I think that I'm too shy to do this or that, then guess what? I am. So the growth mindset says I can learn to get over my shyness by accepting opportunities that will help me to grow. Took me a while to get there, but I'm there. So let me tell you my story, my journey from believing that I was too shy to do the thing, whatever it was, to where I am now at this present moment. I was the child in class that would cringe at being called on. I never volunteered by raising my hand to answer a question. And if the teacher decided to call on me, wow, that was so devastating to me. It was really, really devastating to me. If I was pale, then I'm sure I would be red. I'm sure my face would be red. I'm not pale. I've got a lot of melanin in me. But yes, so I was that child. I was that one that didn't want to take leadership roles in the class. And I had this one incident where a teacher, she would volunteer students to be the line leader. So she'd have a boys line leader, and then she'd have a girls line leader. And she chose me to be the leader of the girls line. And it happened to be with the boy that she chose happened to be someone I just didn't like. So that made it even worse. Number one, I don't want to lead the girls, in the line. I'm not a line leader. I don't want to do that. And number two, why do I have to do it with him? So I remember that so clearly. That was my 6th grade class, and I had been going to the school since 1st grade. And my family, we relocated within the same city, but it put me in a different school district. So what happened is that first semester, I think it was the second semester, I was made, line leader. And then our family relocated And so I think I only had to do that a few times before we moved. And I was so happy that we were moving because that meant I didn't have to be the line leader. So that's how bad it was for me. I was the shyest girl in my 8th grade class. And if you saw my post, I did post the picture of me from the yearbook. And back in the day at our school, we used to vote the most popular, the class clown, the most likely to succeed, so on and so forth. Well, everyone voted me as the shyest girl in my 8th grade class. And so that tells you how shy I was, how quiet I was. And I remained shy throughout high school. I went from elementary to junior high to high school as this shy individual. Let me tell you in high school how shy I was. Even though, I want to back up a little bit, I did become a little more outgoing in high school because I tried out for Banner Girl. And I think because it was so many people in the band and on the team that I felt more comfortable. And people that I knew, my sister she wasn't a Banner Girl, but she would help carry the flags and just help out at the games. And then a couple of my good friends, a few friends, they were part of that team. So I guess that's why I did it. But nevertheless, this is what I used to do in high school. This is how shy I was. So the school I went to, there was this building called the A building. And in order to get to the other campus, B campus, C campus, you'd have to walk through this tunnel. So we had this tunnel, right? And at the end of the tunnel stood all of the athletes in the school. Football players, basketball players, baseball players. I think all of them. I used to just zero in on the football players because I thought it was just all the football players, but I think it was all athletes. So they would stand at the end of this tunnel. And I'm not sure if they were cracking jokes on people as they walked by. They might have been. All I knew is that I was terrified to walk through the tunnel past all of these guys because I didn't want them looking at me, because I must have done it once and thought, oh, why are they staring at me or what have you, And I was determined that I wasn't going to be that one that walked through the tunnel to get to the other side. So this is what I did. I would walk around the school. So if I got out of class in the A building, I came downstairs. Instead of exiting the tunnel like everybody else, I would do a little U-turn and go out the other side. And I would walk around the building. This is around the building, like there's this little pathway next to the freeway, the exit, freeway exit. I would walk, and anybody that knows Blair High School, that's the high school I went to, they would know what I'm talking about. So there's this little pathway, this fence that separates the school from the freeway. I would walk around the building, down that little road or that little pathway, and go to the other campus just to avoid walking through the tunnel. I had it bad, guys. So I did open up a little bit more after graduating high school, though. I became best friends with someone who was an extrovert. Her name was Fran. We were best friends. Shout out to Fran if you're out there anywhere. But observing her taught me to come out of my shell a bit. And it was funny because she used to always say that she wished she was more of an introvert. And ironically, she said she used to be an introvert and then became an extrovert. And I guess she just couldn't go back into her shell. But anyways, I did, again, learn a little bit by just hanging with her that, I became a little more relaxed and more social. And so let's fast forward a little bit. I was working for a company probably in the 80s. I'm aging myself. I worked for this cold storage company in Los Angeles. And I was, an order taker there, and it was a small staff at the location where I was, but there were several girls that were in this clique, or young ladies that were in this clique. We were all young, around the same age. And I pretty much did my work. I, would talk to my coworkers, so on and so forth, but I didn't associate with the clique. And it really wasn't until another lady got hired that she and I became pretty close friends, that I, hung out with anyone. So because I was quiet, I found out later on that every person in that clique thought I was stuck up or conceited. And how I found out is one of the ladies had, I guess the clique got mad at her, and they kind of outed her from the group. And so she started opening up to me, and she's the one that shared with me that everybody thought that I was stuck up. But as she got to know me, she found out that was far from the truth, that it was just that I was quiet. So I went through those times too where people thought I was stuck up, In the 90s, fast forward, I took on a position at a vocational college. I was the director of placement. So my job was to place students with jobs. Once they graduated, I would help them to find work, help them with their resume, so on and so forth. Well, little did I know that taking on this position meant I also had to teach a class twice a week to the students. And when I found out I had to do that, I was like, OMG, how in the heck am I going to stand before these students? These are grown people. Okay, this is a vocational college, so these are like my peers. If not, some of them may be a little older, maybe a little younger, but primarily my peers, and teach career development, interviewing techniques, so on and so forth. Not because I didn't know what I was going to teach or how to teach the subject matter, but because I was so shy, so quiet, so fearful, so scared, I didn't know what I was going to do. But I had to step up to the plate, and I just said, oh my gosh, what is going on? I think at that point I said, God has a sense of humor, because he knows how terrified I would be doing this. And so at that point, I think my mindset started growing a little bit. And what I mean by that is I remember saying, well, this must be preparing me for something bigger down the line. And I got through it, but that was really a shocker to me. That was really, it put me in a position to really step out of my comfort zone. Now, every time I got up in front of the class, though, to teach, it was always terrifying. I was nervous until I got going. And as long as people interacted with me, it made it easier. But that was that girl. And then, like I said, God has a humor, because I was attending a church and had been at the church for a few years. The pastor's wife had a Christmas luncheon for the women. It was a women's Christmas luncheon. And she asked me if I would not mind being one of the speakers. She wanted me to share the tips that I had shared with her personally about menu planning and chores charts for kids, so they know what they're doing in the house and in the household and things like that. And I was honored to do this, but I was again questioning, how am I going to get on stage and talk before all of these ladies? How am I going to do that? But again, I accepted the challenge, and I was nervous, but when I got started and got going, it became easier. But that was another opportunity for me I could have made up anything, any excuse. I could have turned the opportunity down, but I took it on, And looking back, it was one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. So fast forward to 2017. I was asked by a friend of mine at the time, she had asked me to speak to her students. She owns a school that teaches certified nursing assistants and I think maybe phlebotomy or something. I can't remember. Well, she asked me to come speak to her students who were about to graduate. The reason why she asked me, because we had been talking and I was telling her about the changes that were taking place in my life and the path I was on to want to speak and inspire people. And so her hearing that and knowing that I had already worked at a vocational college and had taught career development, she asked me to come speak to her students about interviewing techniques. Now, at that point, I was ready for the challenge because I was really looking for opportunities such as that. I had this desire, this deep urge to start inspiring people. So I took that challenge on and it was phenomenal. She really said the students got a lot out of it and really, really enjoyed what I had presented, to the point that she asked me back to speak at their graduation. Now, this is pretty interesting. She reneged on it, I guess you can say. What happened is I put a price on it this time. I thought, okay, the first time I did it just, it was a labor of love. It was just out of my heart. It was an opportunity. It was a win-win for both of us. But when she asked me to come and speak at the graduation, I thought, okay, I need to put a price on it. I put a price on it. And she basically said, oh, no, it's not that type of ceremony. I've got a few people coming to speak and it's only going to be 5 minutes and so on and so on. So anyways, needless to say, she didn't have me to speak at the graduation. And I was okay with that. I was perfectly fine. So let's fast forward a little bit to 2019. 2019, my boss asked me if I would be interested in becoming a member at Toastmasters. If anyone is not familiar with Toastmasters, it's a speakers forum. It's a training for speakers and leadership and speaking training. And I was very grateful for that opportunity because, again, I was trying to move into the direction of speaking, public speaking. And so this was like perfect timing. And so I took that opportunity on. And of course, in Toastmasters, you've got to get up and speak in front of people and you have to prepare speeches. And the leadership part of that was to be active during the meetings. And it's a great experience. I'm not in it right now, but I was in it for about a little over a year, and I got a lot out of it. And so by the time we had our all-staff meeting at the end of 2019, I was asked to give a presentation at our all-staff meeting, and I prepared the presentation. It was a great presentation, but I was so nervous. And even, let me back up a little. When I went to speak at the school to teach the students about interviewing techniques, I remember preparing for that speech that morning. I remember my anxiety that set in. I remember just being so nervous prior to me leaving and going over to the venue. I was just really, I had never experienced that type of nervousness, but by the time I got there, I calmed down. But I'm telling you, just preparing for it, I wasn't sure if I was ready, if I was going to say the right thing. It was just all kind of emotions going through me. But the same thing happened even though I prepared very well for my presentation at my job, that morning I had to take several deep breaths, and I'm like, okay, you guys pray for me. And I was just really working myself up. But I just wanted to share that because if I stayed with that attitude of I'm too shy, and let me say this, if I was not voted the shyest of my 8th grade class, maybe I would have come out of it a little sooner, right? That shell a little sooner. And the reason why I say that is because when we put labels on people or labels on ourselves, it's like accepting, it's like we believe that. And so it was reality that, yes, I wasn't your person that was outgoing, the social butterfly, have you seen me lately person. I was quiet. I was shy. That was the facts. But putting a label on it, I think that just added to the whole issue. So I just want to encourage you that if you have anything that is causing you to have a fixed mindset, think about the opposite of that. Do the contrast. Like I said earlier, to say that I'm too shy to do this or that is one thing. That's that fixed mindset. But to say I can learn to get over my shyness by accepting opportunities that will help me grow, then that's where the game changes. That's a game changer right there. So your situation may not be shyness. Your situation could be anything that would keep you from growing. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and remember, stay inspired. Let's keep the conversation going by emailing me at katrina@katrinajohnson.online. That's katrina@katrinajohnson.online. So grateful that you joined me on this episode. Remember, information plus inspiration equals transformation. And until next time, stay inspired.